Hey there, vinyl community, guys and ghouls. Today's video will be called GothToberfest, featuring the goth rock movement and all it entailed throughout the 1980s into the 90s. And I'm still, there's sort of a scene out there, but I've kind of outgrown it at this point in life. However, there was a time in life during that period in the 80s, during my high school and university years, where it was a really prevalent part of my collecting, and I was really into a lot of the artists that were part of that whole scene. So without further ado, I'll dive right into one of the favorites. Not that these are in alphabetical order or anything, but we're in the B's here for Bauhaus, of course, legends that they were, and the 4AD label. That was the name of this EP. It's a 6-song EP, came out in 1983, featuring all the founding members, of course, lead vocalist Peter Murphy, there he is, looking scary for Halloween, and the other members, David J., Daniel Ash, and Kevin Haskins. Those three guys, after Bauhaus split a year or so after this, later would go on to form Love and Rockets, and I've mentioned Love and Rockets in one of my previous videos, and I'll get into more about Love and Rockets in a second. And of course, I'll give a brief history on the 4AD label and what it meant to the whole goth rock movement, if you will. So again, kicking things off today's video, that's Bauhaus 4AD, original 1983 release. This is a compilation that came right after. This features singles, of course, from 1981 to 1983. Really nice cover on this with the embossed gold print on it. Really nice. I bought this when it came out. All these are originals that I purchased back when I was a teenager. And here we go. Here's the track listing on the back. This kicks off with Passion of Lovers. That's just an incredible song. Look that up. Kick in the Eye. It's got this killer bass line. Look it up. You'll love it. All these songs are good. Spirit. Of course, if there's a great cover version, I'll mention it, and this is one right here. Ziggy Stardust, of course, the David Bowie song. They do a great version of that. Leg Artesia Nick, and of course it finishes off with the dreary She's and Parties. Just totally fits the somber Halloween mood, if you will. So like I said, goth rock, if there was one genre of music that has a seasonality to it, that would be it. I really go back to the fall months for this stuff. It's not really sunny July heat wave music. This is more of the weather's turning gloomy. There's not a lot of sunlight. You're getting into Halloween. The leaves are falling off the trees. It's that dreary time, a witchy time of year, if you will. Spooky music. Bauhaus. Again, the singles, 1981 to 1983. Really essential. And Bauhaus would split up, I believe, in 1984 at some point. They went their separate ways. Again, the three members went to form, one guy, Daniel Ash, formed Tones on Tail. That was a brief outfit. But then Ash, Haskins, and David J. formed Love and Rockets again, and I'll get to them in a moment. Peter Murphy, the lead vocalist and frontman for Bauhaus, went solo. This was released 1989. No, sorry. Should the World Fail to Fall Apart was released in 1986. This is his solo debut again in 1986. Again, some of the tracks on here. The title track, Should the World Fail to Fall Apart, Blue Heart. Of course, the main single on this was called Final Solution. Pretty good. And again, produced by Ivo Murphy. I'll get into that name later on when I discuss the 4AD label and some of the brief history with that label. So again, Should the World Fail to Fall Apart, Peter Murphy, solo debut in 1986, full-length LP. Not long after that, he would follow up. I believe he had one album in between. I don't have it. The title escapes me. This is a compact disc version of Deep. It's called 1989 was the release on this. At this point, he was gaining some traction in the United States and in Canada as a solo act, Peter Murphy that is. And on this, the single Cuts You Up had a lot of video play on Much Music in Canada and on MTV Alternative in the United States as well. Yeah, it's a pretty peppy song. Light up the dance floor, that one. Cuts You Up in the alternative clubs at the time when I was out and about. Yeah, Deep Ocean Vast Sea opens the album. It's really excellent. Marlene Dietrich's favorite poem. Look that up. It's a terrific, gloomy ballad. When I say gloomy, if you know Peter Murphy or Bauhaus, you know his style of singing, but it just really works. It's a beautiful song. Again, Marlene Dietrich's favorite poem. Again, Peter Murphy, Deep, original 1989 release. Sorry about the sun shining in on this actual beautiful fall afternoon. It's actually not gloomy at all here in New England today. It's really nice weather. So as again, as I mentioned earlier, this is Love and Rockets. This was their debut. I believe the release date on this, Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven, 1985, the release on this. Again, a lot of good stuff on this one. Of course, they do a cover of The Temptations' Ball of Confusion. You've probably heard that ad nauseum. Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven, the title track. If there's one on this I'd really recommend, it's Haunted When the Minutes Drag. Again, that's it's really great. The vocals sound really good. I think I'm not sure who's doing the singing, if it's Daniel Ash or David J. Maybe the two of them combined. But yeah, this is 1986 release on that one. Again, Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven. And the follow-up, of course, I've showed this album before, I believe, in one of my previous videos. This is called Express. This came out in 1986, the release on this one. There they are on the back. See, there's Daniel Ash. So clearly Ash was doing lead vocals. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot that. And then David J on backup vocals and bass guitar, and Kevin Haskins on drums. Of course, It Could Be Sunshine, Kundalini Express, All in My Mind is an acoustic jam that's really nice. And yeah, if you want to rock out the neo-psychedelic goth sounds, if you will, of Yin and Yang, the Flower Pot Man, that's a really good song. Again, Yin and Yang, the Flower Pot Man, that's a mouthful, but it's worth looking up on YouTube. And this album itself is also worth seeking out. It's called Love and Rockets Express, 1986 release. So, shifting gears from Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, moving into probably, in my opinion, the best of the genre, if you will. A band called the Sisters of Mercy from the UK. I'm not sure which city, it doesn't matter. I think they were based in London eventually. This was their debut single. They would release these 3 or 4 song EPs, and they did this successfully through 1982, 1983, and then 84, culminating eventually in their first long play release that I'll get to in a second in 1985. So this is called, it's just Sisters of Mercy, self-titled, and they would always have their Merciful Release. They were indie at the time. I'm not even sure, Merciful Release, what that was, a UK indie thing. But again, this Alice is a great track on there. Again, this is very brooding, ethereal, melancholy. It's goth, so it's don't play it at your wedding. It's not going to cheer people up. Floor Show is excellent, and 1969 on this one is also excellent. Really can't go wrong with the Sisters. Immediately after that, you can see there's kind of a theme to these covers. Not a lot of variants. So, Temple of Love EP, this is known as, again, it's a Merciful Release. There's the logo. Extended version on the A side of Temple of Love. That's a really, really wicked track. Highly recommended. And also, very highly recommended as far as cover versions go. The version of Gimme Shelter, of course, the Rolling Stones, the original on that one. But yeah, really brilliant cover of Gimme Shelter. Look that up. You will not be disappointed. Sisters of Mercy, Temple of Love EP. 1983, the release on that. Again, it's like a 12-inch single, 3 or 4 song EP. One of my earlier videos, I did a whole thing about 12-inch singles. You can look that up if that's your thing from the 80s. They were very collectible at the time. If you didn't want to buy the whole album, a lot of import stuff too from the UK. Club mixes and stuff like that I was into, so I would seek those out at the time. So, another EP from the Sisters here. This is called the Reptile House EP, as you can see. Sisters of Mercy, just really, you know, kind of just dark artwork. You know, you got to just kind of look at it and try to figure out what it is. This is, again, this was 83, the release date on this one. I like the purple color, it's kind of neat. Kiss, Valentine, and Fix is also an excellent song. I recommend those 3 on this. So Kiss, Valentine, and Fix. All brief titles, easy to remember and easy to look up on YouTube. You can find it there for your listening pleasure. See if you like it. The Reptile House EP, 1983. Again, formed by Andrew Eldritch, and there was no drummer. The drummer was simply called Dr. Avalanche. It was a drum machine, which was not uncommon at the time for acts like the Sisters of Mercy or electronic acts at the time. you know, they would just have synthesizers and programmable loops in there, and again the drum machine would be pre-programmed as an accompaniment with the band, and it really works with the sisters. You actually don't even feel it, it's a drum machine. It just sort of suits the music in all its glory. So again, Andrew Eldritch was the front man, and Wayne Hussey on guitar, and on bass guitar was a man named Craig Adams. Yeah, so I'll get into more of that as we roll along here. So another EP from the sisters. Release date on this one, I believe 1984. Yeah, this is the Body and Soul EP. Here they are. That looks pretty gothic, doesn't it? Spooky, kind of ghostly, if you will. Yeah, so all the songs on this one are good. All four, actually. Body and Soul on the A side. Also on the A side, Body Electric. That's a peppy one. It's really good. Side 2, Train. Just amazing. Spooky, gothy. Just, yeah, it's wonderful. And After Hours, that's a real slow burn. Sets the mood for definitely for the whole, you know, dark days of the fall, goth, if you will, seasonality to the music. Yeah, After Hours, look that up. Really good track. So as I mentioned earlier, their first full-length LP would come the following year in 1985. I only have a compact disc copy of this. I did have it on vinyl at some point, lent it to somebody, it disappeared, never made its way home. So this again, 1985, kicks off with, of course, Black Planet. That was a big single from this. And at this point, they were signed to the WEA Records, Warner Elektra label. So yeah, they had gone from indie to a slightly bigger deal, and tours that would follow, club tours in Canada and the United States. And so again, as I mentioned, the kickoff track on this, Black Planet, Walk Away, No Time to Cry, Rock in a Hard Place. Marianne was another single on this, which is very good. And of course, First and Last and Always is the title track. And it ends with Some Kind of Stranger. I mean, it's really this is solid. This is 5 stars. Highly recommended from MGK Boston. You really can't go wrong. This was a template actually for a lot of goth acts after this. You can include the Cult in that too, to a certain degree, although they sounded differently. But again, these guys set the standard. Again, the Sisters of Mercy. So at that point, after that first release, First and Last and Always, Wayne Hussey left and formed another band, and they debuted the following year in 1986, and they were called The Mission, and I'll talk about them in a second, but I just wanted to regroup quickly to capitalize on the growing popularity of the Sisters of Mercy into the early 90s. Andrew Eldritch did release, there was another album after First and Last and Always called Vision Thing. I don't have that. There's a big single on that one called More. You may have heard it. Yeah, it's pretty good, but Vision Thing at that point, to me, they were kind of getting a little too commercial and lost their way. So I kind of ditched them at that point. And again, as I've said, into the 90s, I was buying predominantly compact discs, and this release was only available actually on compact disc. So Eldritch, being a savvy businessman as well, decided, hey, I should capitalize on the popularity of the band, and people were going back to the 80s. This was released in 1992, again on Warner Brothers. This is a compilation. All those EPs that I just showed you, every song is on this compact disc. All in the order it was released, actually, which is pretty cool. So like I said, the Alice EP back in 1983 was their first recorded song that I know of, and it just follows that in sequence right down to the end, and you can see Body Electric from the Body and Soul EP before they moved on and did the full-length LP, First and Last and Always. So this is called Some Girls Wander by Mistake. It's 80 to 83, meaning that's the span of time when all those singles were released. Again, these singles rather, so you can see. Yeah, Sisters of Mercy, Some Girls Wander by Mistake. If you want to capture the band and don't want to buy all those records, you can just buy this compact disc. I believe this has been reissued on vinyl years later. I don't know if it's one of those record store day things, but I've seen it. A brand new copy is going to set you back about $50 from the ones I've seen, because it comes with a lot of extra. The package is really nice. It comes with a nice book apparently and a bunch of other stuff. I may get it eventually. I am a bit of a completist with this band, and I'd like to have it all on one record. But again, I have all the EPs, so it would be kind of moot at to actually, the more I think about it, to buy it on a double LP, maybe a triple LP actually. Not certain about that, but anyway, it is available on vinyl. Backtracking slightly, I had this one, I should have had this one just earlier before I showed you that collection. This was actually the follow-up after Wayne Hussey had left after First and Last and Always. Wayne and Craig Adams, the bass player. Andrew Eldritch picked up Patricia Morrison. She sang backup vocals with him. Don't know if they were a couple or not, but they would have made a perfect couple. When you watch the videos, because at this point they were making videos. This was released in 1987, the release date on this one. This is a full-length LP. Yeah, you can see there's Patricia Morrison kind of hiding in the shadows, and there's the King of Goth himself right there, Andrew Eldritch in the shades under the moon there, the dark moon. So it kicks off with Dominion, Mother Russia, Flood One. Lucretia is just an incredible club track. I can remember being out in the town in the clubs, and that would really be really a good one to hear when you're out and about. And this Corrosion, of course, was a big single. And then Flood Part 2. From, you know, that ironically this was produced by a producer by the name of Flood, who produced other bands later on into the 90s like Curve, but he'd worked with Depeche Mode. I'm not sure who else, but yeah, Depeche Mode were one of his big acts, and then so he came on and produced the Sisters of Mercy Floodland LP. This is pretty nice. It's, you know, it's just nice glossy on the inside, but again, you can see the Merciful Release logo on the inside there. And yeah, this was 1987. And so the other players with the band, he just picked up some session guys. They'll remain nameless. They're kind of insignificant for the purposes of this video. But yeah, Sisters of Mercy, Floodland, 1987. This came out just before that album I mentioned earlier called Vision Thing, which I don't have. And Vision Thing, again, was the one with the single More on it. But beyond More, I don't think there was anything worth hearing on Vision Thing. But this was their peak, if you will, no, I wouldn't say commercial appeal, but they were just on the cusp of becoming a very big thing, and that's where it kind of ended for me. But yeah, this is really worth picking up. Floodland, Sisters of Mercy, 1987, the release on that. So as I mentioned earlier, Wayne Hussey, the lead singer, guitar player from the Sisters, and Craig Adams, they left and formed this band called The Mission. This is released in 1986, called God's Own Medicine. Really nice artwork on this. Really quite like that. And on the back, of course, the track listing. So kicks off with a track called Wasteland. That's an excellent song. Garden of Delight is also good. Love Me to Death. And probably the best song on this, on side 2, is Suberina. There's a video for that. You can find that on YouTube. And as you can see at the time, you know, available on LP, CD, and cassette. The label would always do that to let you know you could buy it in those other formats. Yeah, and again, they switched labels and were on Phonogram again in 1986. I actually saw them on this tour in Ottawa. I've mentioned, I think, before in one of my previous videos, because I do talk about the 80s quite a bit. I saw them at a venue called the Ottawa Congress Center. It's called something else now. And they are actually open for the Psychedelic Furs. So yeah, Wayne Hussey, I just remember him swinging off the mic stand and a bottle of Blue Nun, which is a cheap bottle of wine in Canada, out of his gourd. But he managed to still deliver a really quality set, and they were really good that night, and loud, very loud too. Yeah, The Mission, God's Own Medicine, 1986, the release date on that one. And from that album, yeah, Wasteland was the lead-off track. This is just a 12-inch single, extended version of Wasteland. As you can see, Wasteland Extended, B-side Shelter from the Storm. That's also on God's Own Medicine, but this is a live version. And Dancing Barefoot, and they actually do a cover of Sisters of Mercy, 1969, I mentioned earlier. That 1969 song is on the very first Sisters of Mercy EP with Alice. It's on side 2 of that EP. But yeah, this is really good. You can see here's a photo of the band on stage performing. Yeah, really good live experience they were at the time. And again, nice cover work on this. I don't know what's going on with all the unicorns and then some goddess up here looking down. Pretty far out stuff, but they were the neo-psychedelic kind of more than goth. The Mission. Yeah, Wayne and Andrew Eldritch, when they parted ways, Wayne Hussey, almost more of a rock sound than the Sisters of Mercy, but excellent nonetheless. And just before God's Own Medicine came out was this. This is just a self-titled EP. Song on this was called Serpent's Kiss. Was not on any of their album. It's only on an EP on a singles basis. Of course, there's Wayne Hussey right there, and there's Craig Adams. Again, yeah, Serpent's Kiss, that's an excellent song. Look that up. Wake is also very good. I haven't listened to this in a long time. I can't even remember what Naked and Savage sounds like. Maybe I'll have to throw this on later. But yeah, Serpent's Kiss is just a really killer single. And they're a really good band. I don't know if they're still around in some sort of incarnation. I believe they are. I'm just going to flip this album over. Playing in the background is a band called the Cocteau Twins, also on the 4AD label. I'll mention them again toward the end of the video. I like to have the music in the background of my videos, but I noticed the last time I had it a little too loud, so I want you to be able to hear me. All this wonderful information that you need to consume. Don't want it to be drowned out by the music. So anyway, technical difficulty here. There we go. So another 12-inch single, Tower of Strength. This one released in 1988. Really good song. It was on the second album after God's Own Medicine, and that full-length album name escapes me. I don't have it, but there's just two versions of Tower of Strength on this. Just a full-length version, and then Bombay mix. They used to give, on these 12-inch extended mixes, they give them names. Bombay mix. You could call it the Brockville mix for all intents and purposes, but they're just playing around in the studio, making it sound different, and of course extending it, for club purposes for the DJs. So yeah, again, really great artwork with these guys. Less minimalist than his predecessor, Wayne Hussey, that is, in the Sisters of Mercy. Again, it's all about just creativity. So it must have just they had a different artist doing their artwork, and I really quite like it. And Tower of Strength, 12-inch single, 1988, the release date on that. So from the Sisters of Mercy and the Mission, go to a band called the March Violets. I don't know a whole lot about these guys. They're formed in 1984, and this was also produced by that producer I mentioned earlier. He just simply went by one name. Flood was his trade name. There's a pentagram on the front. That'll scare you, right? So these guys had some commercial success later on. They had a song on John Hughes, who made a lot of the teen movies in the 80s. He had a movie called Some Kind of Wonderful, and the March Violets had a song. The title of that song escapes me, but I do have that soundtrack. I'm going to do a video down the road on movie soundtracks, so that'll be included in that. But again, this one, Walk Into the Sun, that's what I bought this for. It's the A-side. It's a 12-inch single version, of course, extended. And then the B-side, a slower song called Essence. And the March Violets, and also part of the goth rock genre. Release date on that, 1984. These guys, not much of a following outside of their native England. They're called Play Dead. Heard this on a late night college radio program when I was in high school, and the song I heard on this was a song called Isabel. I bought it predominantly for that, but the rest of it's actually pretty good. I listened to this earlier this week for the first time in probably about 30 years, and it actually had some staying power to it. It still sounds relevant. Propaganda was the other single on that I really liked at the time. So yeah, Propaganda and Isabel, and they got this kind of Stonehenge thing on the back. But this was a collection of singles. They were kind of like a lower rent Sisters of Mercy, if you will. They released a bunch of 12s, and then they were all compiled on this collection. Again, 1982 to 85. Of course, like I said, the singles, Play Dead, some sort of Elizabethan kind of artwork theme going on here. But yeah, nice cover on that. Play Dead. Again, released in 85, a compilation of 1982 to 1985 selected singles. Again, this is a 12-inch single. These guys are from my homeland, Canada, that is. They're from Montreal originally. A band called Haunting Today. They did a couple of singles and then disbanded. This one, though, I bought for their cover of The Age of Aquarius. Of course, originally done by the Fifth Dimension in the 1960s. They do they turn it upside down into this wicked, pounding goth rock number. You wouldn't recognize it, but when you hear the chorus, Age of Aquarius, of course, you're going to recognize the song and go, hey, that's what that is, right? But yeah, the lead vocalist simply called Beach. I like that. keeping it real. 1986, the release date on this. Of course, again, from Quebec. You can see on the bottom there. Yeah, Haunting Today. And this is actually on, you could find this on YouTube. And check out that version of Age of Aquarius. You won't be disappointed. Alright. And Stiv Bators, lead vocalist of the Lords of the New Church. He was formerly lead vocalist for another band called the Dead Boys. There's Stiv right down there, looking his usual unhealthy self. This is a collection of all their works. It's called Killer Lords. This is released in 1986. These guys sometimes even borderline on satire for me. When you watch some of the videos, they just seem just hilarious now looking back on this. So, but they're a really good band regardless. So, on this, Dance With Me, that's really good. Black Girl, White Girl, that's another good song. Method to My Madness is probably their biggest single, and that kicks off side 2. Again, Method to My Madness. Open Your Eyes, that's another single from the period. That's a really excellent track, and I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, speaking of a cover version, like I've mentioned throughout this video, some covers, they do a really great version of Like a Virgin. Of course, the original by Madonna. They take it to a whole other level of hilarity. Like a Virgin, covered by Lords of the New Church, and there they are, the Killer Lords. Again, the release date on this, 1986. And again, I've listed some of the songs, and you can see them there. Method to My Madness, Open Your Eyes. And again, Like a Virgin, the Madonna cover, the highlights for me on that one. 1986, the release on that compilation of their work. Back to the 4AD label. This was a band out of Germany, Xmail Deutschland. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I think I've got it close. All the songs, all the lyrics are in German, and they were on the 4AD label. So anyway, Ivo Watts, who was the president and founding guy for the label 4AD, he was always looking for different stuff like this, and yeah, this definitely fits the genre. Again, you can see there's the 4AD logo. Title track on this, Mondlicht. I don't even know if I can say it right. Mondlicht. You can look that up. It's spelled Mondlicht. Again, Mondlicht. Mondlicht. Augenblick is another good one on here. Augenblick. I'm spelling these because I don't speak German, and I'm not even going to attempt to get my pronunciation correct on these. And Christmas in Australia is another one on here. That's actually the only English song on this. But again, this is called Toxin, the name of this release. And I think the release date on this one is 84, yeah, 1984. So Xmail Deutschland, Toxin. And if you want to call her the Queen of Goth, feel free. It's Susie and the Banshees, as you can see right there. I don't have all their stuff, but I have quite a bit of it. This, I believe, came out in 1980. What's the year on this one? 1984. Yeah, 84. Yeah, 84. So this is called Hyena. It's hard to see there. Dazzle is my favorite song on this. You can look that up. It's available on YouTube. Bring Me the Head of the Preacher Man. That's another good one. Running Town is good. And Blow the House Down. Of course, I must mention the great Belladonna. Yeah, Belladonna, second only to Dazzle on this album. Again, this is Hyena. Release date on this, 84. Moving ahead a couple of years, this is Peep Show. Release date on this one is 1988. There you go. Let's see what's on the inside. Oh yeah, there's the band right there. Of course, Susie's featured on the cover, so the other band members on the inside. There's Budgie. The names of the other guys escape me. Of course, you know, you would get all the lyrics, which is really nice. She's just a beautiful voice, Susie Sue. If you're not familiar with Susie and the Banshees, look up some of these songs. The Killing Jar, Carousel, Ornaments of Gold is excellent. And of course, the ballad on this, probably one of my favorites by this band, The Last Beat of My Heart. There's a really good video on YouTube. I don't know if it was at Reading Festival or Tea in the Park, one of those summer festivals in England. And they do a really excellent version of The Last Beat of My Heart. And they are still active, Susie and the Banshees. I saw this tour in 1988 in Montreal, a band called the 39 Steps opened up. They were kind of a punk new wave band, I guess you call them, and they were from Montreal. They opened at a club called the Theatre Saint Denis. Don't know if that's still there, but of course this is a long time ago. 1988 was the year I saw that tour. Yeah, really excellent. Susie and the Banshees. Peep Show. This is a collection of covers that they did called Through the Looking Glass. Again, there's Susie's eyes up there. Beautiful Susie, there she is. So on this one, yeah, This Wheel's on Fire, Your Lost Little Girl, that's a Doors song, The Passenger, I think that's an Iggy Pop cover. But yeah, this is pretty good. Again, it's all covers. It's called Through the Looking Glass. Release date on this one, I believe, is 1988-89. And this is Cities and Dust. This is a 12-inch single. This is from their album going back to 1986, Tinderbox. I don't have that album. Of course, you can see here they were on the, the Polydor label. Yeah, this is a 12-inch single. Really liked this song at the time, Cities and Dust. I don't know. I had something against Tinderbox. I guess that's why I didn't buy it. I didn't really like it. But again, like I've said, 12-inch singles. If you didn't want to buy the whole album, this was the way to avoid that. Save yourself a couple bucks. Spend $4 instead of 10 or whatever we were spending at the time. Of course, this is an import, 1985, and again on the Polydor label. There's the band. That's a nice shot at the band right there. And of course, as an extended version on the A side, some song called An Execution, and then it's the 7-inch single version on the B side, Two Cities and Dust, of course. But yeah, really excellent track. Look that up, Cities and Dust. Again, this is a 12-inch single, 1986, the release date on this. Originally found on, again, as I said, Tinderbox, the full-length LP at the time. This is an album called Superstition. Release date on this is 1991. Actually, they're moving into the 90s at this point. This is pretty good. They were very polished at this point. Kind of like The Cure in that they were just getting bigger and bigger and playing bigger shows and just getting more fans along the way as they went. Great song on this one. You can look up Kiss Them For Me. Drifter's good. Silver Waterfalls. The Ghost in You, don't confuse that. It's not a cover of the Psychedelic Furs song. It's their original. Silly Thing is also good. And probably the best song on this album for me, a song called Shadow Time. There's a really good video for that. If you look that up again, YouTube, you can find it there, Shadow Time. Almost at the end here, folks. Going a little longer than I normally would. But it's a genre that I love, so there's a lot to talk about. So as I mentioned earlier, the 4AD label was formed around 1980. It was a spin-off from Beggar's Banquet, which was a much bigger label in the UK. A guy named Ivo Watts was already working for Beggar's Banquet, and they put him in charge of 4AD and finding new talent, which he did a great job of doing. This is one of those bands. This is a band called Dead Can Dance, formed by guitarist Brendan Perry, and of course the unmistakable vocals of Lisa Gerrard. This is their debut. This was released in 1983, self-titled, 83 or 84, can't read that. No, 83. So yeah, on this, of course, The Fatal Impact is excellent. Look that up. East of Eden. The highlight on this for certain, a song called Carnival of Light. Live versions of this are available on YouTube, and they are excellent. She's just an amazing singer. Again, Lisa Gerrard, the vocalist for Dead Can Dance, on the 4AD label. So as I mentioned, Ivo Watts was the chairman, president, whatever you want to call him, of 4AD, the record label. He decided in 1983 to put this thing together. Sorry, 1983, a couple of years later, 1986. This is called This Mortal Coil. This is basically I'd call it a gothic dream pop collective, because it was a collective of artists, kind of the best that 4AD had at the time, and they all worked together, got in the studio, and they were called This Mortal Coil. And there's the cover of that. And this is called, of course, It'll End in Tears was the name of this. Really, really excellent album. Can't recommend this enough as well. I don't use those words lightly, people, so yeah, make note. So yeah, Again, you can see they're on the 4AD label there. The reflection. I wanted to show some stuff on the inner sleeve here. Yeah, so there's a lyric right there. Now the winter's drawing close, the days are getting older. I can tell by your face that your heart is getting colder. So if that doesn't sum up, like as I said, the fall theme heading into winter of the whole goth seasonality, I don't know what does. And that lyric, of course, right there is from the best song on the album, which is called Fond Affections. Yeah, vocals on that by a guy named Gordon Sharp. He was from a band called Cindy Talk. Also on that track, Martin Young from Colorbox playing synthesizer. Going back on the same side of this album, Song to the Siren, featuring the vocals of Elizabeth Fraser. You can hear she was the lead vocalist for Cocteau Twins. That's playing in the background. Almost an operatic quality to her voice, just really beautiful. Elizabeth Fraser, the vocalist from the Cocteau Twins. So they do Song to the Siren right here. I believe that might be that's a Tim Buckley original, and that's a cover of it. Of course, Kangaroo is very good again with Gordon Sharp, who also sings Fond Affections down here. Yeah, there's just a lot of great highlights on this, but yeah, really cool artwork. Really nicely put together by the 4AD label. They always had quality inner sleeves and notes with their releases. Yeah, just gave it a higher caliber, almost like classical music, if you will. So here's the follow-up to that first This Mortal Coil, It'll End in Tears, followed by Filigree in Shadow. I believe this is released the following year in 1987. So this is actually this is a double. Yeah, so double LP set with even more gems. I'm not going to get into all of them, but again, look up This Mortal Coil. Allmusic.com is a really good reference point if you want to get record reviews going back to anything to the 50s. It doesn't matter the genre. And look up This Mortal Coil and read a bit about them. I said they're a music collective featuring, it was again, all these great artists from the 4AD label at the time getting together in the studio and coming together as one. And it worked out really well. What a great idea, I thought, at the time of Mr. Ivo Watts. Yeah, and I believe the 4AD label's still active. I'm just not into a lot of the newer stuff, and maybe I will after listening to all this stuff this weekend again to make this video. So it was nice revisiting a lot of this stuff. And lastly, again, playing in the background is this. This is the Cocteau Twins, the Treasure album. This came out in 1984. Yeah, the release date on this, again, featuring Elizabeth Fraser. And yeah, you really unmistakable vocals, positively operatic, if you will. And this lead-off track, this is what I was looking for. Yeah, there's actually, they do a song, that's what I was looking for. Ivo, dedicated to Ivo Watts, again, the founder of the 4AD label. That played earlier while I was making this video. So again, folks, that was GothToberfest. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're having a Halloween party, look up any of these artists, load up your player and put those on, do a mixtape, whatever you call it these days. And you won't, that could be a good soundtrack for GothToberfest, if you will. Hope you're all doing well out there in YouTube land or wherever you're watching this video. And again, keep listening to the music, keep watching my videos. I think I'm at 62 subscribers now. It's kind of mind-blowing when I started this in March that many people were interested in what I had to say about music. But here we are, I'll take it. Thanks a lot, folks, and I'll see you next time.